Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the recently released Sixth Assessment Report of IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. We are going to discuss about what are the main takeaways that we can understand from the Sixth Assessment Report, and also we are going to discuss briefly about the implications and significance of this report. So first of all, the reason why we are discussing this, because latest, that is the sixth report, has been released from the IPCC on the Monday, and the most important point about this report is that it has actually warned people and governments all across the world that there are multiple climate change induced disasters are there that are waiting to happen in the next 20 years, and that despite if we are able to make sure that our objective regarding carbon sequestration or the carbon emission is met. And that is why it is very, very important that IPCC has said that apart from that, we also have to take into pay equal attention to the adaptation goal under the climate change initiatives. And as per IPCC report also, it says that around 3.5 billion people in the world, which consists of around 45% of the global population, are living in the areas which is highly vulnerable to the climate change and the after effects of this. India also is categorized as one of the most vulnerable country as far as the climate related disasters are concerned. So what are the IPCC report? So IPCC, as we discussed, stands for the Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change. It is a body of United Nations that is responsible with and have objective of advancing the knowledge regarding to the human-induced climate change. The body was set up in year 1998 by the collaborative or joint effort of World Meteorological Organization as well as United Nations Environmental Program. The assessment report, the first assessment report under IPCC, was released in year 1990, and these are considered as one of the most trustworthiest and the comprehensible report that is released on a global level for the climate change and related disasters. Now, though such kind of initiatives, such kind of problems and the challenges that humans have to face regarding the climate change has been underlined in the earlier 5 reports as well. But let us try to understand what is the new thing that has been included in this present 6th report. So first of all, as of the disasters and the overall trend of the climate change is concerned, there is nothing new as such, but the only change on the positive side that we are able to see in this report is that this report is saying everything or predicting everything with much more certainty, much more clarity, and has included large number of evidences with data and data points that has been collected and gathered from all across the world. Apart from that, there is a report this time has also taken into consideration the regional and sectoral impacts of the climate change. For example, earlier reports were basically focusing on the macro area, but this time even the micro areas like urban centers, urban sprawls have been considered into the report, and the effect of climate change has been, what will the impact of climate change on these small areas also have been elucidated in this report. For example, several mega cities all across the world has also been taken into this report, and for example in India, 2 major cities, Mumbai and Ahmedabad, have been enlisted by the IPCC report, where report says that Mumbai in the next 20 years is highly prone to flood and flood related disasters due to the change in the sea level, rise in the sea level, as it is a coastal city. At the same time, the Ahmedabad, which is an inland city far away from the coastal areas, city of Ahmedabad is much more prone to heat wave and heat related disasters due to the increase in the temperatures. And for the first time, apart from these, the report also discusses that how the health of human beings are impacted or can be impacted due to the climate change that will happen in the near future. So let us try to understand that what the report has said about the impact on the health due to the climate change. So first of all, it has says that as the climate change will progress, the climate change basically, when we are talking about climate change, basically means that increase in the global temperature as well as a rise in sea level, that will actually cause change in the rainfall pattern and will have a lot of repercussions. So basically it will increase the vector-borne and waterborne diseases. Vector-borne disease, that means something that is the disease that is transmitted by certain vectors, whether it can be bacteria, it can be fungi, it can be plasmodium and something like that. For example, malaria, that is transmitted by the bite of mosquito, as well as dengue. And waterborne diseases such as cholera, typhoid, all this can spread to a much larger extent as climate change progresses and worsens. At the same time, it also says that there can be also all the global scale, and especially in the tropical and the equatorial areas, we can see increase in the diseases that is related to circulatory, respiratory, diabetic as well as infectious diseases, and that will mainly be responsible, that will mainly happen because of the increase in the global temperature, both the atmospheric temperature. Not only that, as due to climate change, we can expect a change in the rainfall pattern, and as the change in rainfall pattern happens, we know that obviously the crops will be affected, the crop growth, the crop productivity will be affected, and overall we can see decline in the agricultural production all across the world. As due to this, we can see the large number of cases of undernutrition. We can also see increase in the instances of allergic diseases like gluten allergy and something like that, and even mental disorders can increase due to the extreme weather events. If weather become very hot, weather become very cold, people will not be able to feel a kind of comfort, and that can actually stress their mind and can cause mental disorders and diseases. Not only that, report also have discussed some other important findings. For example, it says that whatever impact of the climate change that we are seeing today are now becoming more and more and are appearing more and more faster as compared to last 1 or 2 decades. Also, the effect of the climate change that we are witnessing today, or which we will witness in the future also, will be much more destructive and widespread than what we had expected about 2 decades back. At the same time, this all things cannot be avoided. That is a grim aspect or grim picture that has been painted by the IPCC report, that even the best we can say summit or best global effort that has been taken, that is the Paris summit, where all the government across the world agreed that by year 2100 they will try their best so that the global temperature does not increase by more than 2 degrees Celsius than what it was at the pre-industrial level. And even if we are able to arrest the temperature rise up to 1.5 degrees Celsius, in that case also there are certain irreversible changes that the earth will have to face. And that is why, rather than just looking at arresting the future growth of carbon and the greenhouse gases, IPCC has emphasized that we should also take into consideration the adaptation methods. The places which already are facing severe climate change effects, for example, in the small island developing states where the sea level rise and global temperature rise has actually caused a lot of catastrophe. And the adaptation problem, the main challenge in progressing with or moving with the adaptation method is that there is a lack of funds on the global scale, as well as there is a political commitment. So these two things have to be taken care of if we have to help ourselves as well as help other small countries of the world from the disasters of climate change. Now let us try to understand the significance of the report. So first of all, the report is very significant because it is the scientific basis for the policy making all across the world in almost all the countries. Whenever they are making any policies related to climate change, related to change in weather pattern, so agriculture policy, water policy, everything take their we can say is somehow take their initiative from the IPCC report. The reason why IPCC is so credible all across the world is because it is very detailed in nature. Everything is mentioned with the facts, figures as well as the evidences. Second, it takes into consideration not only the macro scale but regional and sectorial impact of climate change as well. That makes it easier for policymakers to understand the impact of climate change, especially for their concern. For example, you can understand policymakers can make special separate policies related to national, we can say solar power generation, wind power generation, the industries like carbon dioxide emitting industries, for example, this coal industries, coal mining industries, thermal power plants, all these they can take into consideration the basis of the report. At the same time, it is much more credible due to extensive research that is not carried by a few scientists but teams of scientists from all across the world, and that is why the report is able to present with us certain actionable intelligence on the basis of which the action plan both on the local level as well as the governmental level, on the state level, regional level, national level, even as international level can be taken actually taken into consideration. So the past contribution report has also been very stellar. The text of climate change negotiations, especially two important climate related we can say summit that has held. One is the Paris summit that happened in 2015 and one was the Kyoto protocol. Both these significant climate change protocols in climate change summit have taken their text from the IPCC report. Then, due to their stellar contribution in the field of understanding the human-induced regions or human effect of humans on the climate change, the IPCC was also awarded with 2007 Nobel Peace Prize. So that is why everywhere all across the world climate scientists and also the government policy makers keep on waiting for the IPCC report so that they can take into consideration the basis of the report and can formulate their policies accordingly. So that is all about the IPCC and the recently released Sixth Assessment Report. That is all for today. We'll come again soon with another interesting topic. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.